This is video number 9 of 15. When cars were first produced, they weren't produced with air conditioning units on them. You could buy the unit. Eventually the units came out and you could buy the unit and have it fitted to your car. The problem is when the car had been originally manufactured, it wasn't manufactured with the air conditioning unit in mind. So what would happen is when you stopped the car, I'm told the car would conk out because there wasn't sufficient power in the engine to power the air conditioning unit. So after a while, there was a back engineering, reverse engineering, and they said, okay, so we want to fit these things into the cars in manufacture. So how big does the engine need to be to produce that? I believe that this is really a great illustration for what God's doing right now. For us as leaders, fivefold ministry, leaders in the church, one of the questions that's important for us to ask is, what does success look like? What I mean by that is, what's our end product? If we were to say, okay, this is really what I want to produce, what is that? And I think all of us, or the vast majority of us, would say we want equipped, empowered believers. That's what we want. We want believers who are functioning in the fullness of what God's called them to do. So if that's our end product, we've then got to reverse back and say, okay, so what do we need to do to create an environment for that to be produced? And unfortunately, the way that church has developed through history has not been focused upon that. It's really been focused more upon even a university or college kind of dynamic, where you have the teacher at the front educating the people, giving the people information, but not actually empowering. If I can put it this way to you, I could sit with somebody who's never driven a car before, and I could sit with them, I could tell them about the combustion engine, I could tell them about the brakes and the clutch and the accelerator and the indicators and the handbrake and the mirrors and how to steer. Could give them all of that information so that they've got all the information that they could possibly need, that they are fully educated on how that car works. Then take them outside, sit them in the car and say, off you go. Would they drive the car? Probably not. They'd have a knowledge of the principle, but they won't have been empowered or equipped or trained how to actually drive the car. So they hear about the benefits of driving the car, they hear about maybe even the importance of having a car, but they've never actually been trained and equipped how to drive it. Now, Ephesians 4:12 tells us that the fivefold ministry gifts exist primarily for the equipping of the church for the work of the ministry. So the emphasis that's taking place right now is away from, if you like, the dynamic of the priest and the laity, which is not even a New Testament term, to a place of the church being the ministers, and the emphasis of the teaching, the training, the conferences being upon equipping the body, not informing the body. Definitely we need to teach, definitely we need to inform, but we need to teach and inform to empower and equip. We need to teach and inform to empower, equip and enable. And to do that, that means it requires a much deeper level of involvement with people. It means that there's going to be mess. Because if you're going to start with the stuff that I do with prophetic training, there's going to be mistakes made. But don't you stall the car when you first start driving a car? Don't we need to come to the place that we begin to create environments where people can be trained? Now, if we're honest, a lot of the time, normal church does not produce that. A normal Sunday service does not produce that. In fact, many times far from it. Many times what a Sunday meeting can look like, or a normal church meeting can look like this. You're the spectators, we're the professionals. You just watch us perform and cheer us on, and that's what church looks like. But actually, I believe it's meant to probably look more like personal trainers in the gym, where the personal trainer's got the experience and he's now standing shoulder to shoulder with others, equipping and training them to do what they do. And this is the emphasis and the thrust that God is bringing right now. As God is re-revealing, because I don't believe we ever lost the fivefold ministries, but as the fivefold ministries are being reintroduced to the church, if I can put it that way, or re-emphasized to the church, what needs to happen is this equipping and enabling comes with it. We don't just need to know that God speaks, but we need to know how God speaks and how we can hear him speak. We don't just need to know that people need to get saved, but we need to be equipped how to lead people to salvation. It's a shift away from information to a place of equipping and training. And this is really important for us right now, that we begin to just look and say, okay, if we want to produce people who are worshippers, we need to enable them to be worshippers. So what do we need to do to help people become people who worship? I believe part of that is going to be a shift away from a performance from a platform to a dynamic that begins to enable and empower the body to engage with God. So this is the shift from teaching and informing to equipping, training and empowering. So in your ministry and in your walk with God, how can you empower others, and how are you being empowered yourself? God bless.